Hunt and Hill from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio on a Monday. I am Hunt Palmer. He is Hill, Jeremy Hill, Casey Gaines, and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Mr. Hill, how was your weekend?
Doing good. Just watching Alabama win another SEC championship. It's like Groundhog's Day with that thing.
I don't care about talking about that at the moment at all. Not even a little bit. We'll talk about that in the next segment. A loaded show today. Cody Worsham going to talk some LSU hoops, and also Brian Kelly. He's been around Coach Kelly now for a little bit. So we'll have Cody Worsham come on at 12:30. It has been a wild weekend in the sports world, specifically college football. The coaching carousel is out of control. Things going on in Miami and Eugene. It's just nuts. But let's start on the home front with LSU. Tigers received their bowl fate yesterday, as we predicted last week. Headed to Houston. The Texas Bowl was not going to pass on LSU should they fall that far. Pretty predictable that they would, because I don't know how desirable a 6-6 LSU team that has moved on from its coach is, but that's what the Texas Bowl is getting, and Kansas State will be the opponent. We know that game is going to be January 4th. That is a Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central Time. Great news for the post-game show host, who will be on the air until 2 in the morning. So you saw the matchup, saw the bowl game. What did it speak to you?
Yeah, that's exactly where you expect a 6-6 football team to be. Obviously, not what LSU fans are used to, especially from the coaches we've had here in the past. At least you're getting a New Year's Six bowl, obviously far from that. So I think it'll be a great opportunity. I think I heard Coach Davis talking about it, especially for next year and what Coach Kelly's trying to build. They're going to get a chance to practice 15 times before this game, and I think just getting, how he wants to, run this program, how he wants to hold these practices, getting a lot of these kids who obviously played a lot of snaps this year, who are coming back, who haven't hit the portal. It'll give them a great opportunity to get better heading into the spring. So that's more of what I'm looking for, gearing up for next year, and you get 15 practices to do it.
Yeah, this bowl game really doesn't do much for me, quite honestly. Kansas State is just about as boring an opponent as you can possibly play right now as we sit here. I cannot name one single Kansas State football player, not a one. And you look up their schedule and see what they've done thus far. They lost their last 2 games of the season to Texas and Baylor. Prior to that, they were sitting in a pretty good spot, but obviously fell off. You look, they don't have any, super awesome wins. They beat a bad Stanford team, played Oklahoma close, lost the game, played a tight game with Oklahoma State that ended up being a 10-point loss. They went to Texas Tech and won. They beat a bad TCU team who had fired their coach. They beat Kansas. They're not very good, and they're not very interesting, but the Tigers do get to play again, and I think that's important. And certainly as you listen to Brad Davis yesterday, he's excited for this, and this is a great opportunity for him. He really likes it in Baton Rouge. It's home for him, and he has talked about that pretty openly. Met with the media yesterday to talk about being with his family after church and his mom making a pot of white beans, and he's talked about how every time on Father's Day his wife would send him some boudin wherever they were for Father's Day. He doesn't have to do that anymore because he's at home. And it was such a short time from the time he was hired to the time that there was a change made up top. For him, may or may not be back next year, but he does get a chance to lead the Tigers one time as a Baton Rouge kid. That's got to be cool for him.
Yeah, that's a great thing for him, and I think he talked about it as well, being 0-0, and then how important it would be for him to become 1-0 as a head coach, and you get a great opportunity in the Texas Bowl to get that accomplished. So I think you making that decision to make him the interim coach, I think seeing him hold that press conference and seeing him, still, not trying to do his thing, but actually listening to Coach Kelly and how he kind of wants to prepare things for the future. I think that just shows how unselfish he is, and I think it's a great decision by the higher-ups to make him the interim until we get this thing figured out with Coach Kelly.
Yeah, we've got that sound, and I think it's interesting that Brian Kelly and Brad Davis will work kind of together to get this thing rolling.
I'd be foolish not to utilize his expertise. He's obviously coached in tons of big football games. And so, going forward, I want to be in compliance with what he wants in regards to the organization of it. These 15 practices are valuable. And so we don't want to waste one of them developing this team for 2022. Obviously, the bowl game is the matter at hand, but we definitely want to springboard into 2022. You know what I mean? So as it gets closer to time for our preparation, getting through this next week and recruiting, I fully intend to spend time utilizing him, for both the analytical piece and his expertise. Yes, sir.
So the question was brought up last week: do they let does Brian Kelly coach in the bowl game? That decision's been made. He's not going to do it, and I think that's just fine with me. I think Brian Kelly needs to focus on some other things that are going on right now, and let Brad Davis focus on the Kansas State Jayhawks and the Texas Bowl. I mean, that's the most obvious thing, and he obviously is doing that. And they're still out there on the road recruiting. They're still trying to do the best they can while they're here at LSU until the decision's made that they are or they're not. I'm a little bit surprised to this point, Jeremy, that we haven't had any announcements on really anything with the current staff. Are you?
It's a little shocking, but I think, when you have the 2 seasons we've had, the back-to-back years, I think obviously recruiting is so important, but I think you got to get these hires right. I think we've seen kind of, throwing guys in thinking, hey, it's LSU. They'll be fine. You can throw anyone in that job and they'll figure it out. I think we saw that probably doesn't work at the level that you would want it to. So for Coach Kelly, take your time, find the staff that you feel like is going to be best to build this program back to where it is, and coaches that can come in and really, develop these players on and off the field, and you just don't do that overnight. So obviously, I love some of the coaches we had on the Coach Orgeron staff, but man, it's a little weird that we haven't announced one name.
Yeah, I mean, there's just been nothing. You would think at some point they would bring someone on. I realized that there's some guys coaching championship games last week and all that, but the dust is kind of settled. I would imagine here over the next 48 hours. Some things will start to happen in terms of guys that are going to be on this staff moving forward. One name we know will not be on the staff moving forward is Tommy Moffitt. That news came out yesterday as well, and 2 days ago as well. And it's not unexpected, but still an end of an unbelievable run for Tommy Moffitt here in Baton Rouge. An absolute legend in the profession, and a guy whose time here netted 3 national championships under 3 different coaches, and he was the guy that was always there. And so Coach Moffitt was the first guest to ever come on this show, and obviously has a great relationship with all the players. I've spent a good amount of time around Tommy Moffitt and enjoyed every second of that. And it's just, as I tweeted out on Saturday, you could spend all day trying to find one LSU football player to have one negative thing to say about Tommy Moffitt. They just don't. Everyone just reveres the man, respects the man, and knows what an impact he had on the people that came through that program for the last 20 years. Yeah,
just huge impact. And I think the biggest thing I said is everyone that's kind of had contact with him, they have nothing but remarkable things to say, because he comes to that building every day ready to work, fired up, getting the guys ready, on and off the field. He's always there. I've known him since high school. Just always been a man I can look up to for advice, help, diet, just things. Any little thing that I needed, he was always there. And I think for me, having that open door to former players, anytime you want to get a workout in, anytime you want to, use a facility, he's had that open door for guys to come back in. And I think you can't, put a value on that. And so it's definitely a tough blow. I didn't think that was in the realm of possibilities that we'd be moving on from Coach Moffitt, but Coach Kelly felt like that was the decision to make and best for the program. But man, I just wish Moffitt the best. I've learned so much from him. He's just been so incredible for me. And I really wish, he didn't have to go, but that's the direction they're going.
The blame game gets played a lot. It's got to be somebody's fault. The axe has got to fall. It doesn't matter the sport. It's just a natural discussion point. But there have been a lot of injuries over the last 2 years, and I see just so many people jumping to message boards or jumping on Twitter and jumping on the strength coach for guys getting hurt. And I just look at that and I go, nobody was yelling and screaming 2 years ago in 2019 when guys weren't hurt and LSU was shoving Alabama and Clemson all over the field. It didn't seem to be an issue then. And I don't think things drastically changed in 2 years. It's just they caught some bad luck. And that I truly believe that. I just don't think that Tommy Moffitt forgot how to be a strength coach, was negligent, didn't know what he was doing, and because of his because he wasn't good enough, guys started getting hurt. I just don't subscribe to it.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I said that before. To me, when I'm looking at a strength staff, I'm looking at, strength and conditioning staff, are guys, pulling up lane with hamstrings and little knick-knack stuff where, that stuff could have been prevented. A lot of this stuff is broken bones and things of that nature, broken feet. It's like you can't do anything about that as a strength and conditioning staff. But that's what the decision they wanted to do. They wanted to move on from Coach Moffitt and his staff, and hopefully it works out, man. If you look at his track record, just the amount of guys he's put through this program and gone on to play on the next level, man, there's not many better strength and conditioning coaches in this country, if you ask me. But that's the direction we're going in. Let's see how it plays out.
And if you look around the country, it's not hard to find members of Tommy Moffitt's tree, quote unquote, all over the place. Baylor, obviously Scott Cochran over there. when he was at Alabama and then over to Georgia. I mean, he's a guy who's impacted a lot of people and created a lot of great things for a lot of people as well. So all the best to Coach Tommy Moffitt. I'm sure we'll get him on to talk here in the near future to chat. Last thing, a little housekeeping with LSU football. Butkus Award was announced yesterday, and Damone Clark comes up just short there. Nakobe Dean from Georgia, who is an awesome, awesome player, wins that award. Statistically speaking, just by the numbers, Damone Clark was vastly superior. Did Nakobe Dean have a great year? Yeah, he did. So, look, I'd have loved Damone to win the award. I think it is dumb if you consider one's on was an unbeaten team and the other was on a 6-6 team. It doesn't really matter if it's just one guy on the field. But if you watch Nakobe Dean play, he was sensational this entire year. Made a huge play with an interception against Florida in that big game that they stretched on. And it's disappointing because Damone had such a great year, but I don't think it diminishes his year at all because he was absolutely awesome, and he'll be a first-team All-American and probably have a little extra pocket change come up in a couple of months.
Yeah. Talking about a guy, coming back and making a lot of money, that's what we kind of talk about, man. You don't have that first or second round grade. Come back to school, get your degree, do all the right things, and Damone did that at one of the more higher levels that I've ever seen. A guy that I thought possibly just watching him last year, probably not a good chance he would get drafted, and if he did, it'd probably be later on. He tremendously improved his draft stock, and I think for me it was on and off the field, getting that number 18, doing things the right way, finishing every play, just, showing, the leader and the capability you can have being an LSU linebacker, which we've seen a ton of guys have had success at this program. Damone embodied that, and he really showed that. Obviously, the Butkus would have been amazing, but I think you can't, look down on what he did, especially his last year at LSU. It was an amazing season for Damone, and he really kind of held our defense together when we didn't have a lot of depth.
Brad Davis talked about him yesterday. Just talked about how he's he called him the best linebacker in college football and said he kept that defense together. And I think that you can look statistically at what he did and say, wow, what an unbelievable year. But more so the leadership when things aren't going very well. And that's just not something that mentally you can be prepared for at LSU, because when you sign on to come play at LSU, you just assume we're going to compete for championships. We're going to be in the top 10. We're going to be in the top 5. We'll have a chance to win and have all these accomplishments. And all of a sudden, for the last 2 years, you're a 500 team. And that's just not something you would have thought ever when he signed on to play at LSU. But he responded to it so well that I think that will probably, in my mind, be the legacy that he leaves for his last year.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was. And I think you just watching this whole season, just game in and game out, just having that guy that he was going to bring it. I know that's something that the fans, kind of talked about, man, we're going to lay down, man. We're going to lay down. Those guys, they didn't show up. You didn't have to worry about that with him. He showed up every time. And to me, it was definitely a pleasure to be able to watch that all season.
Championship weekend in the rearview mirror. College football playoff all set. Coaching carousel continues to turn. We'll talk about all that next. Cody Worsham coming up in about 15 minutes. Stay with us. It's Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
BrakeMedics.com. So convenient, so easy to use. Such a great new service here in the Baton Rouge area, and we're so proud to tell you about them every single day. BrakeMedics.com has got ASE certified techs. They're fully insured to come service, replace your brakes at home. So save the hassle and time sitting in a repair shop waiting room. You can never leave the couch. They can pull right up behind your car in the driveway and change your brakes right there. We know everybody's going to be doing a lot of traveling coming up for the holidays. Want to make sure your car is in great condition. Brake Medics can do that. Jeremy will tell you how to go get a free quote.
Yeah, go to BrakeMedics.com for your free quote today. All you got to do is log into their website, put in your make, year, model of your vehicle, and whatever brake symptoms that may be going on with your vehicle, they have it right there on the website for you to fill in. All you got to do is put your name, phone number, and email, and they will get back to you with a free quote today at BrakeMedics.com.
They're Baton Rouge, Hammond, Covington, Mandeville. They come to you. BrakeMedics.com. BrakeMedics.com. We make house calls.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Week 13
Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast office products.
these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Half Hires. Join us Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Cody Worsham, a little more than 10 minutes from right now, talking about Brian Kelly's first week on the job, as well as the Fighting Tiger basketball squad, which as of about an hour ago is ranked in the top 25. Snuck in there at 25. And then they got a week off for finals for Georgia Tech on Saturday. But I want to talk about championship week that was in college football over the weekend. And we'll start in Atlanta, Georgia. Alabama 41, Georgia 24. Wasn't really that close. I didn't call that one. I said Georgia would win by 17 points, and they didn't. Alabama had shown me nothing that would indicate they were going to come out there on Saturday. They looked awful against Auburn. They looked awful against Arkansas. They looked awful against us, and they come and just beat Georgia every way they could beat them.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I think a lot of people, and I get Nick's frustration. Obviously, I'm taking Nick's side here, but I get it. They have to be world beaters every week. They have to blow people out by 50. It's the SEC. It's college football. The other teams get to watch film. They get to prepare. You also have to deal with injuries. You also have to deal with these kids in study hall. It's not as easy as it looks, people. But in spite of that, you got the Heisman winner, which is why I said going into that game, Stetson Bennett or Bryce Young. Stetson Bennett, Bryce Young. It was a no-brainer for me. I figured, in a game like that, Nick has had Kirby's number every time they play. Obviously, some really tight games, some really close ones, but I just thought Bryce would be on fire, and that's exactly what he did. Those are the type of performances you need to take down the number one defense in the country, a defense who's giving up less than 7 points a game. Y'all go 40 ball them. That's the type of performance you need. So going forward, man, I think you got that guy. You got the best quarterback in the country right now. It's shaping up for Nick to do this thing once again. seems like Groundhog's Day, Alabama in the CFP playoff time and time again, and a chance to win it all. But yeah, Kirby, we got to do better than that, Kirby. Look, all them 5 stars, man. What are we doing, Kirby? What are we doing?
Saban's up in my neck of the woods today, up in the 318 at Captain Shreve High School, visiting Kendrick Law. If anybody in the Captain Shreve halls wants to get the spitballs ready, maybe get a little creative up there, you have my full blessing to do so when he invades this state. I wish he would go away forever. But incredible performance by Alabama. Bryce Young goes for 421 yards, and you mentioned Stetson Bennett. And the question, comes, well, what should they try JT Daniels? At this point in the game, man, I think you got your quarterback. I think it's Stetson Bennett. I think changing quarterbacks at this point seems like a fun, easy thing to do. That's the guy that's gotten you to this point. Again, to go back to the point, Alabama didn't score for 3 quarters against Auburn. And they were they scored 24 points in the second quarter.
Yeah. Obviously, they lost their number 1 receiver in the Auburn game. To me, Jamison Williams, that dude's a monster, man. That dude's a tough guard on the outside, all that speed. And Bryce, you saw the arm talent. They missed him. Mechie, not quite the deep threat. Obviously, they lost Mechie in that game, and they still didn't lose a beat. It's Alabama, man. They dropped the 4 stars and 5 stars. They got an army of those dudes over there. So you don't think depth will ever be an issue. And a guy that's not getting much national recognition is Will Anderson. That dude has 15 sacks in a college season. It's just remarkable. So, man, Alabama, they keep those dudes up there, and obviously they had everything ready for the Georgia Bulldogs. So Nick's not going anywhere, guys. Just going to have to deal with it. Take it, deal with it.
One day he will. It's true. One day he will go somewhere, and it will be great. The Big 12 championship was probably the game of the weekend. Baylor gets a goal line stand at the end to win 21-16. I thought the most interesting thing was when they got the goal line stand. I mean, you literally win this game by 4 inches, and the Baylor sideline just erupts and goes nuts, and Dave Aranda just kind of stares off into he just doesn't have a pulse. His heart rate's like 8.
Yeah, that was an intense one, man. I thought when Oklahoma State got that ball and they punted it back to them and they were driving. I said, this is not good for Baylor. This is not good. They're going to chuck this. And Oak State's going to be in the CFB playoff, but a tremendous goal line stop, man. Coach Aranda and the crew kept that defense cool, calm, and collective. Bend but don't break, and that was one of the big goal line stop for them to seal the Big 12 championship. Obviously, not much in the Big 12, but I think you got to tip your cap to Coach Aranda in his second season going to win that conference. That's special, and they're going to be able to build on that in Baylor.
I swore when the game when that season was over in 2019 that I would support everyone who was involved in that, no matter where they went, unless it was in Tuscaloosa. And so obviously taking an interest in Baylor, and for him to win a conference championship in year 2 is sensational. They picked off Sanders 4 times on Saturday and got that stop there at the goal line. And it's crazy that the Big 12 is now the defensive showdown in the conference championship game, a 21-16 game. But that was impressive. Also impressive, Michigan 42-3 over Iowa. It was never close. Bigger, faster, stronger were Jim Harbaugh's Wolverines, and they lock up their spot in the CFP. People thought maybe a letdown after Ohio State, but no, you get in those bright lights in a championship game in an NFL stadium. I figured they'd come to play, and they were awesome.
Yeah, they definitely came to play, and Iowa probably not one of the best teams in the country. No. They were to start. People were bumping them, especially when they beat a bad Iowa State team that we kind of know is bad now. People wanted to thrust them into the top 5, but just not, to me, just outmatched by Michigan. And Coach Harbaugh, he tossed the khaki pants, man. What are we doing, man? You're tossing the trademark khaki pants, but maybe that's a little good luck, man, because they've been looking really good lately. And I don't know. I don't think Georgia's just going to waltz through them. I think Georgia's favored by 7 right now. I don't think it's going to be that easy, man. Michigan has a defense. They come to play their world coach, so you got to tip your cap to Coach Khaki Pants, man. He got the Michigan Wolverines back on top.
Talk about the playoff scenario after looking at this one. Cincinnati, had to come up big and win the game, and they did. They won it going away. It was 35-14 or 35-13 when they went to the fourth quarter. And Cincinnati finishes off a 13-0 season with Luke Fickell.
Yeah, they did. They definitely did. And this is a rare, weird place for me right now. Non-Power 5, just walking into, just trotting into the CFB playoff. I'm like, well, I guess this is the precedent we're setting now. And I think if Cincinnati plays Michigan close, Whew. I mean, well, they play in Alabama. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're going to get the Tide, and it's not going to be pretty. So, no, we don't have to worry about that.
Okay, so do you think they got the 1 through 4 right? Alabama 1, Michigan 2. Then you look at who's 3? I just
Georgia.
Georgia 3. Sorry, and Cincinnati 4. That's the order that you would have come up with.
Nah, look, Notre Dame. Look, I'd rather watch Notre Dame get smacked by Alabama. Look, put Notre Dame in there. It's fine. They're 11-1. It's cool. It's not that big of a deal. We could have did that. Now, Oklahoma State, were on my dreams of kicking Cincinnati out. We could have got Oklahoma State in there. They choked at the 1 yard line.
It would have been interesting to watch. They did the teams basically did the selection committee a favor. I mean, they took all the drama out of it.
Yeah.
There just wasn't really another option. Now, the question that I have, and I think about this all the time, is what if Ohio State, instead of scheduling Oregon, scheduled Tulsa? And then all of a sudden you look up, they're 11-1. They wouldn't have even played in the Big Ten championship game, and their only loss would have been to Michigan on the road.
Yeah, they'd be in.
That's my point. If Notre Dame, instead of scheduling Cincinnati, schedules Western Kentucky, they're undefeated.
Yeah, they'd be in.
So the point that I'm making here is putting potential losses on your schedule is still
risky business.
It might not be the play. Like, maybe it'll help. Maybe if you get that win, but is it worth it?
I think if you're Notre Dame, you have to, especially when you don't have a conference. You got to put just some respectable teams on your schedule. But if you're in a Power 5 conference, I know I get it. This is kind of what we do at LSU. We line it up, especially first game of the year. But if I'm some of these teams, man, it's okay if we play, a couple, we may play a ULM or play some of these teams, play Tulane, play some of these schools like that. You play your conference schedule, you win your conference championship, you just trot into the CFP playoffs, especially if you have one loss. You've seen a ton of these teams kind of ruin that. I think we said that about Coach Kelly. If Notre Dame's sitting at undefeated right now, does he leave Notre Dame? It just opens a Pandora's box when you kind of do this thing like that and kind of schedule some of these teams that may be iffy that you may not win against. So, yeah, we've seen it this year, especially when you got a non-Power 5 team in the playoff. So
the strength of schedule it's still more often than not, what is the number to the right of the dash? And if it's 0, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't matter who you played. I mean, Notre Dame didn't really beat anybody either. But Cincinnati gets credit for that win. And we did Throwback Thursday last week about the 2007 game. The only reason Virginia Tech did not play for the national championship that year is because they came to Baton Rouge and got embarrassed. If they wouldn't have done that, they would have been in the championship game. But they did. So you're de-incentivizing, in my eyes, putting those high-profile games on the schedule. Now, teams are still doing it, and the SEC's now got a rule that you've got to play a Power 5 team. But it's hard to disagree with what I'm coming up with here, that if Ohio State doesn't schedule Oregon and they play a cream puff and beat them by 60 in a game that nobody cares about, they're in the playoff.
Yeah, they definitely would be. And I think we've kind of seen this thing slowly playing out all season, especially when we kind of saw Cincinnati beat Notre Dame and they had them so high in the AP poll. I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. And they continue to win, and you kind of saw them get put at 3 the week before, and you just said, man, the Cincinnati's just going to walk right into the playoff. And they to me, man, that Notre Dame win, to me, it's a little bit overrated. Notre Dame,
it's a fine win.
I mean, that's it. I mean, like, where's Notre Dame's notable win? Like, points in Notre Dame's
Wisconsin.
Oh my goodness, that's like, come on, what are they, 5th in the Big Ten? Like, it's just not there, man. So I think going forward, I don't know if this sets a precedent for some of these ADs scheduling down the road. Is it worth the risk of, like LSU, we're playing Florida State, we're playing USC, we're playing all these? Is it worth that to do that? Or do you kind of play, one of these other Power 5 schools who aren't, one of the national powerhouses in the country? So we'll see how this thing plays out. But I think if they definitely don't expand the playoff, you're going to see some of these ADs kind of tuck their tail and start avoiding these games.
And by the flip side of it, there's always arguments that can be made. When you take the entirety of college football history, you can usually cherry pick and find something to back up your point. But look, LSU playing Virginia Tech that year helped them. And maybe the Texas win in 19, even though I would pretty much lean toward the fact that the conference championship game when you beat Georgia by 1 million and had done that was a little bit more impactful to do the jumping of Ohio State that year. it's just interesting because I think as I look at it, there are teams that could have gotten in if they didn't get a little too aggressive on their out-of-conference schedule. So just something to think about, something to talk about. Second time out, come back with Cody Worsham. He's going to talk to us about Brian Kelly's first week on the job. Cody spent some time around Brian Kelly as well as a top 25 basketball team that LSU has. Cody obviously covers them very, very well for LSU. So let's take a time out, come back with Cody. It's Hunt and Hill.
Holding down the middle of the day. This is Hunt and Hill. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sip, shop, and celebrate at Southern Oaks Athletic.
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
To the heroes who are working tirelessly to care for our communities, we thank you. We will never forget the countless hours you dedicated on the front lines, choosing to risk your own health to fight for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
I mean, you guys are out on the front lines fighting it.
We are grateful for your heroic acts and unwavering spirit. Together, we are overcoming this adversity and make our state healthier and more vibrant again. Ochsner Health.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law office of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
We're live at Rouge Creole in Perkins Row, recapping all of the college and NFL action from the weekend on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Out in the open field on a Monday, Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Time now to join. We go to the phone line and be joined by Cody Worsham, digital media reporter over there at LSU. Cody, how we doing?
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
Doing very, very well. All right, you had a chance to sit down with Brian Kelly pretty quickly after he had taken the job, and now I've seen him at work for a week. Your early impressions of Brian Kelly in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, he's extremely detail oriented. No task is too small for him and his staff to start tackling. So I know they're working on a lot of that stuff behind the scenes. I think he's extremely buttoned up. I think he's done this before at multiple levels, and so I think he knows how to attack it. Now it's been 12 years since he took a new job. He was at Notre Dame there for a while, but I think he, whether he was going from Grand Valley to Central Michigan, from Central Michigan to Cincinnati, from Cincinnati to Notre Dame, he kind of knew how to step into those early days and start implementing the things that he wants to implement. So that's the first impression of him. I think he's got a really, really strong vision for not just what the football program can be sustainably and how to build that sustainably, but I think in the same vein, I think he sees where football fits into the larger picture at LSU, and so I think it's, you heard the word alignment thrown out a lot of that first press conference, but I think that was extremely, extremely appealing to him because he knows to build something sustainable, you do have to have everyone pulling in the same direction, and not only does he look for that, I think that's what he's trying to build over there at Football Ops, have everyone pulling in the same direction.
What's a realistic timetable do you think Coach Kelly will have this staff filled out, especially with this early signing period coming up on the 15th?
Yeah, I'm reminded of a quote that my dad said often growing up when he was my basketball coach, and he was coaching me as his point guard. He said, "Be quick, but don't hurry." I think you want to move quickly and round out your staff, but the worst thing you can do is hurry and hire someone for the sake of hiring someone because you need to get it done by a certain date. If you need to take an extra, I'm just throwing out an arbitrary date, take an extra week, 2 weeks to make sure you get the perfect person for that job. While it may be a little bit, we may all be a little bit impatient on this side of things and saying, oh, we got to get this guy by signing day. We got to, shore up the recruiting class. Remember, this is just an early signing day, so there's still a later signing period to add people. And if it's a week now that you're sacrificing to get a coach that's going to be around for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, it's worth that time. So realistically, I think it's going to take him a few days. I think he's to really dig in and start bringing in some of these coaches, mostly because this is the first week where there's not been college football. You had championship weekend this past weekend. He had been busy with his previous job before and kind of just gotten in and settled now. I got a couple calls on Friday, when's he going to start naming coaches? I was like, it's his second day on the job. Wednesday we made him go stand in front of microphones and cameras all day. He actually did. He was working in between all those things, but we didn't let him get any work done. Thursday was the first day he was able to sit down in the office and say, all right, I can call this person, I can call that person. So give him a little time, and I have no doubts he'll land an elite staff.
Cool opportunity for Brad Davis in the interim here.
Oh, it's awesome. For a guy that grew up in Baton Rouge, a guy that really came in at LSU, you want to talk about unfortunate timing. That's a tough time to take over when he came in and took over as O-line coach, and you got to teach a new system. And I thought that group improved as the season went on every week. So, not only a deserved opportunity, but just the story of him being a Baton Rouge guy, being the first minority coach for LSU, even if it is just for an interim game. That's significant. I was thinking about that last night. You have to be in the right position to do that and do the right things as a coach, not only before you get here, but when you get here to be put in that position. So it's great. And I think it's going to be great for the team. I think especially that offensive line has a lot of love for him and the way that he came in and took over at a difficult time, but really shored up that group and made it better as the season went on. I saw Garrett Dellinger was a freshman All-American today from 24/7. There was improvement across that entire group as the season went on from, week 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 when they were really a liability to where they were at times later in the season a strength despite a lot of injuries. So excited for him. He had a great press conference yesterday. He's a really engaging guy, and I think he's going to bring the energy for this team and have them up for this game.
Let's shift gears to hoops. Will Wade said he needed this reset here for finals to do some things differently on the offensive side of the floor. The defense has gotten all the headlines, but the offense is probably more of the concern to this point. What do you think they need to work on over the next 5 or 6 days?
Well, first, I'm issuing some homework for anyone that wants to take it. I would love for someone to go back and look at all of Will's press conferences from before this finals break, throughout his time at LSU. I would guess they were all pretty much the same tone of we're the worst team in the world and we got to fix everything. I think he's a man of routine. And so I think this is the time of year where he starts addressing the weaknesses. But he's right. I'm not saying he's not right. The offense has some issues. The defense has been just so good. But at some point, you're going to play better offensive teams. You're going to have some mismatches that other teams are able to take care of, and you got to be better on offense. To me, it's the guard play. It's really Pinson and Gaines and Murray to an extent. I think those two guys really have to run the offense more smoothly and do less with the ball in their hands, get the ball moving. This is a team that if they're going to be good offensively, the ball is going to be reversing. It's going to be fewer dribbles, more passes, more screens. So I think that's a big part of it. I think the other part is just identifying kind of your go-to guy in certain spots. I think there's a bigger role for Efton Reed as that guy offensively that you kind of when things get stale, you dump it into him and let him create. I think there's probably a bigger role for Brandon Murray as a shooter. He's been at times the 4th or 5th offensive option, but he can really score the ball and shoot it well. So maybe running some stuff for him coming off screens and using him as a weapon. It's still kind of a hybrid offense between what LSU used to be. Ball screen heavy, a lot of ISO, and I think where they want to go, which is more ball movement, more moving off the ball than with the ball. And so I think that transition is still taking place. But I think those two guards, especially in Pinson and Gaines, when LSU's playing well, those two guys are playing well offensively. When LSU's struggling, those two guys are struggling. So it's really them clicking and getting everyone else involved and facilitating. I think if they do that, and they're certainly capable of doing it, they've done it at times this year, it's just about being consistent. If they do that, this offense is going to be just fine.
Darius Days averaging about 16 points a game right now. Do you want to continue to see him kind of be the leader in shots taken in a game? And if not, who would you rather kind of take that role as the team's leading scorer?
Well, it's interesting because your two best offensive options are both 4s, and Tari Eason and Darius Days. And I was looking at some of the numbers. Those guys you haven't seen, and then your third best option is Efton Reed. And those 3 guys haven't played together all season. And I don't know if they can play together. I think in terms of skill set, there is some versatility. I mean, there's a lot of versatility there. But that's really, can you play with 2 4s and a 5 on the floor? Do you put Eason as a 3? Do you put Days as a 3? I don't think that you really can. So maybe it's figuring out how to maximize the amount of time that 2 of those guys are on the floor, and they're basically both 2 of them are on the floor at all times, but trying to maximize them. Now, I think Days and Eason are still your best options. Tari can create a little more for himself. I'd like to see Days get back to some of the stuff that made him, really, really good as a sophomore and junior, the offensive rebounds, the putbacks, the dirty work. He's fallen in love with the 3-point early this season, and certainly when he was shooting 65% from 3, that was fine. But when that starts cooling off, I think he needs to start more inside and then work his way out, be more dominant inside. But I love the way Tari's playing. Tari's just been absolutely phenomenal. Don't think you could ask for more. He's almost playing a little too good. I'm not saying that he shouldn't play as well as he can, but I'm starting to get a little bit worried now that he's going to play his way into an NBA draft spot next year. I'd like him to come back for another year at least. But he's just been so good on both ends of the floor. He's offensively, he's really the guy that when he's out there, you can create stuff through him. Just give him the ball. He's going to have a mismatch either way. But defensively, his steal and block numbers are, just off the charts. I tweeted this last week. He's the only player in the country with I think it's a block rate of 4% and a steal rate of 7%, or maybe I have it inverted there. But he's the only player in the country with those numbers defensively. So he's a monster that can take over both ends of the floor. I think him and Days are still your two best offensive options, with Reed as kind of a matchup nightmare. And just figuring out a way to, I don't know if you can get them all three on the court at the same time, but just maximizing the offensive skills of those three guys.
Cody, we appreciate the time.
All right, guys, thanks.
He is Cody Worsham, digital media reporter over there at LSU. We'll come back and close out hour number 1. It's a Monday edition of Hunt and Hill.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
FanDuel.
Sports betting is coming to Louisiana, and there's no better place to get in on the action than on the FanDuel Sportsbook. To celebrate, FanDuel is giving you $100 in free site credit when you register early. That's right. Register and verify now, and you'll receive a free $100 bonus when we're live.
Live date is coming up. We will keep you posted on that. Hadn't quite gotten there, but that does mean you can still get on there and get that $100 free when you create your account. Easy to use. Got great boosts, super boosts on the weekends, and you can live bet while you're watching a game from your couch. So easy to use, like I said, hooking you up with great deals like this one, where you can get $100 in free site credit when you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Again, we'll tell you when Louisiana is live. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. The bonus is issued on a non-withdrawable site credit that expires 7 days after FanDuel accepts its first real money sports wager in Louisiana. Unique user identity verification is required. The offer ends on the go live date. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Every child has is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. The place is going to be convenient for you during that inconvenient time, and it's even more convenient now. Now you have 8 convenient locations, with the Bruley location just opening up. So go check them out online, patientplusuc.com, because remember, they are your place for your sniffles, for your colds, for your stitches, for your COVID tests. They have all that available over at Patient Plus. For more information, visit them at patientplusuc.com. Get in and get better.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Third Tree, and a brand new OTB mailbag. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're judging all these hires that are being made. You really just don't quite know.
Yeah.
Got a lot of statistics to back that up that will kick off hour number 2. But I want to follow up on some things that Cody said there, talking about LSU basketball team with you, Jeremy. Incidentally, for those interested, the Tigers did crack both polls today. They are ranked 25th in one, 24th in the other. 7 SEC teams are ranked. I said on my podcast this morning, SEC is the best conference in the league. I mean, the best conference in the country.
Oh yeah. You especially if you see what Alabama just did to Gonzaga, man. You got some teams, man. There's a lot of depth on each side. It's not just the West is stacked, the East is stacked. It's a whole conference, man. You can look. There's going to be a lot of kids from this conference good play at the next level, and you see that, man. It's going to be a fun SEC schedule when this thing gets rolling.
One way to describe it is fun. It's going to be brutal. So, and this is as we educate you here in your first season kind of covering the team, I told you about all these games that Will Wade schedules that look stupid on paper and nobody cares about them, and then all of a sudden it comes down to tournament time and things work out. The first net rankings were released today. That's a metric that they use. It deals with offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, strength of schedule, and your wins and losses, obviously. LSU in the net is second. Number 2 behind Purdue, who's ranked first in the country. It is like clockwork. Every year he knows how to manipulate this thing and figure it out. Their strength of schedule is not even that good on the net metric, but through a month, LSU is first in the net, is second in the net, which is not surprising at all. This is a question that was posed to me in my podcast that I answered last week. I want to toss it to you. It's been very obvious during Will's time here who they were going to go to if they had like 11 seconds left and they were down 1 and needed a bucket. The first year, it was going to be Tremont. It was that way for 2 years. You saw in the NCAA tournament when they had to get a basket against Maryland, Tremont was the guy who had it. When he moved off, Skylar Mays was the guy. He made a buzzer beater against Mississippi State. He was going to be the guy that handled the basketball in crunch time. Last year, it was very likely going to get into Cam Thomas's hands because he was so good at drawing fouls. He was such a talented scorer. That was probably going to be where it went, although Javonte Smart's certainly capable of doing that. On this year's team, I think the answer is a little bit more complicated. He was talking about the first 3 options in terms of scoring are post players. If you just put your Will Wade hat on, 11 seconds left, down 1, you need a basket. Where's the ball go?
Yeah, it's so hard to get the ball on the block with that amount of time. You just know they're going to dig out the post. They're going to double team you. You got guys, coming from your backside. It's you can't see from everywhere. I think when you got a point guard that's at the top of the floor and he can survey the whole floor, you can see where the doubles are coming from. I think you got to give it to a guy like that. And so for me, my first thought was, man, you got to give it to Days, but just off the dribble, I don't know if I trust that as much. So for me, I'm going to go Pinson. 85% free throw shooter. If he's getting it going downhill, you trust him to go to the line and knock him down. Obviously, he's only shooting 25% from 3, which isn't amazing, but just the way he can break a defense down off the dribble, leading the team in assists. So if there is a guy that kind of helps and leaves the guy open, you trust him to make that pass. So for me, obviously, he's probably not the most elite, prolific scorer we've ever seen at LSU, but I'm probably going to put it in Pinson's hands.
That's the interesting thing because Wade's always spread the floor totally and let the point guard go one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And if they try to run a double at him, obviously the defense is compromised at that point. This just, because Pinson is a poor shooter, it makes things a little more difficult. And so I think instead of just clearing the floor out and letting one guy go, you probably have to put something in that you've got time to run to get everybody moving to try to create some sort of open look there. Because when you try to give it to a point guard who's not a great shooter and they can back up and just sag off of him, it makes it difficult to create much with that amount of time left. It's something we don't know about this team yet because they haven't been in that many. They've only been in one close game. I'm curious to see kind of where that falls. But the Tigers off for finals. Georgia Tech in Atlanta on Saturday as part of the holiday hoops giving. I believe they got like 150,000 basketball games being played in Atlanta over this weekend. So Tigers will be involved in one of those. Fast moving hour number 1, Cody Worsham. We appreciate him for stopping by. Talked about Brian Kelly as well as talking about some LSU basketball. Talked about the playoff seeding championship Saturday, where the dice fell there, and then open the show talking about LSU's berth in the Texas Bowl, talking about the Butkus Award, Brad Davis. Very, very interesting stuff. So if you missed it, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Second hour, coaching carousel's out of control. Mario Cristobal has just gone from Oregon to Miami. Miami doesn't have an AD. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Manny Diaz is out. What's Oregon going to do? That job's open. Oklahoma's got their man. And while this is starting to happen so fast and so furious, I think it's that early signing period. We'll talk a little bit about that in the second hour as well. Lane Kiffin just got paid. Another thing we want to talk about. But I've got a list of the hiring history in pretty recent memory in the SEC. I want to talk about how often these schools are hitting on their new head coaches and how often they are swinging and missing. And the numbers might surprise you just a little bit. So we'll get to that to kick off hour number one. And, of course, when we finish out the show, we will do some Take It or Leave It. So come back with us on the other side of this timeout. You're listening to Hunt and Hill in the capital city's leader in sports talk, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
For 60 months on new Ford F-150s, all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. And now 0% for 60 months on Ford F-150s. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rufino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour is brought to you. 1, 2, 3. Hunt and Hill. Tom Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, it's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
1 hour in the books. Hunt and Hill on a Monday. Glad you are with us. All right, let's just do a little bit of an exercise here. This is just one of those things where I'm sitting at the kitchen table last night and I'm like, maybe this might be interesting to look into. So I went through it. I took LSU out of it. I've got the 13 other schools in the SEC. And I've got their last 3 full-time football head coaching hires. And I went through them and I just arbitrarily, without diving too deep into stats, said, was that a hit, a successful hire, or was that a miss? And some of it's too early to tell. But what comes out at the end is you reveal kind of what the percentages are in getting a coach that isn't quote-unquote hit. And I realize that's a subjective term, but I think that it's pretty obvious what worked and what didn't. So let's go through it right here. Texas A&M's last 3. Jimbo, I have too early to tell, even though he's been 3. And this is all going to be relative to their expectations. Because, I've got someone here that I have as misses, and their record's probably similar to Mark Stoops', but I think everyone would say that was a hit for Kentucky because it's Kentucky. So so Jimbo I have too early to call. Sumlin I have as a miss. And then Mike Sherman went 25 and 25. I got him at a miss. So A&M has missed on 2 of their last 3. You feel me?
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, their little brother. I mean, how much can they get right? They never been to Atlanta. Like, come on, what are we doing?
All right, Pittman, I have at Arkansas too early to tell. Feels pretty good, but he had the oldest team in the SEC. We'll see if they can reload those shelves and see if his coordinators bail or whatever. Too early to tell for there. Chad Morris went 0 for the SEC. Going to go ahead and say that's a miss. Brett Bielema had a nice little 1-year run and then went back to mediocrity and fell apart. So I have that as a miss as well. Ole Miss. Kiffin, too early to tell, but we're thinking that's probably going to be a hit there. He's been there 2 years. It's looking pretty good. I've got Hugh Freeze as a hit. I realize it ended pretty quick. They beat Bama twice. They won a Sugar Bowl. I mean, if he doesn't get fired for being a moron, then it probably works there in Oxford. He recruited really well. They won some big games. Considering what he took over, which was Houston Nutt, which I've got as a big old X, that's pretty good. So I've got Freeze as a hit. Mississippi State, Leach, too early to tell. Joe Moorhead, that didn't work at all. That's a failure. Dan Mullen, I've got as obviously a hit. Any issues with any of that?
No. I think that's pretty accurate, especially the Ole Miss one. I was a little shaky on Hugh, but you kind of read the resume a little bit, and yeah, you got.
I mean, it ended as just a house on fire. We got guys in ski masks or in gas masks, and we got cell phones. Bit of an issue there. Bama, and this one, this is the deal with Bama. They think it's their birthright to win national championship. No, it's that guy I'm pointing at right there. It's Saban. Because before him, you had Shula, who was a miss. Before him, you had Mike Price, who was fired before he coached a game. And then before him, you had Francione, and he wasn't any good either. So really, there's misses all over the place other than just Saban, who, I think we can go ahead and characterize that as a hit. Then Auburn, Harsin, too early to tell. Malzahn, I've got as a hit. They were there for a long time. They were a play away from a national championship. I've got that as a good hire. And then Chiswick,
you got to. Man.
I've got it as a hit. I've got it as a hit.
You can't win it and not give it to him.
It fell apart so fast and so spectacularly. But if you win a national championship, I guess I got to give you a hit. That's one you can see on my. I scratched out and changed them. That was Chiswick because I had it as a miss. Because he went 0-8 in the league. That's not good. But I'll go ahead and give it a hit. Mizzou, Drinkwitz, too early to tell. Barry Odom, I've got that as a miss. They did win the league, the East one time. It's close, but I'm not going to dive too deep into Barry Odom's profile at Missouri. That's not really the point of the exercise. And then Gary Pinkel was there 14 years. That's a hit for sure. South Carolina, you had Shane Beamer, too early to tell. Muschamp's a miss. Spurrier is a hit, so that's a check there. Tennessee, when I was writing Tennessee, I just started laughing. I was like, this has been a grease fire. Heupel, too early to tell. But Pruitt, miss. Butch Jones, miss for sure. You could go on to Dooley, and there are misses everywhere. Kentucky, Stoops is a hit. Joker Phillips was a miss. Rich Brooks, was there for a few years, but he was 39 and 47. Like, that's a miss. I just, even at Kentucky, I think Rich Brooks is a miss. Georgia, Kirby's a hit. Richt is a hit. Jim Donnan was 40 and 19, but after he had a good year too, and then it kind of was pretty mediocre. I've got that as a miss. I could listen to it either way, but but Georgia, model of consistency there with Richt and Kirby for as long as they've been there, 20 years now.
Yeah, definitely. That you gotta mark Rick definitely as that's a hit, man. They were winning too many recruits, and I think obviously Kirby, man, the playoff success, the bowl success has just been bad. But I think where they have that program now, you gotta say that's a hit. They're the top of the country. They're recruiting their tails off every year. So I know it's early for Kirby, but I still gotta say that's a hit. And
for sure,
for some of the other ones out there, I think the Tennessee one. That's bad, man. You don't ever want to see your program in a coaching carousel with your own school where you're just hiring and firing coaches. So feel bad for Tennessee, but maybe Hype can change it around.
Now, how about this, Florida? What would you say for Dan Mullen?
Not a hit.
I would say it's a miss. Yeah. McElwain, miss. Muschamp, miss. 3 in a row they've messed up.
Yeah. Tough, man. That where Urban had that program, I don't know, man. When there's smoke, there's normally fire. Urban left for a reason. I'm sure it was the health air quotation marks around it, but there's something going on in Gainesville, and you look and just see with the last 3 coaches there, it's just been terrible. So I don't know, man. There's something going on in Gainesville, but they've definitely missed on all those 3 hires since Urban.
Clark Lee is too early to tell at Vanderbilt, but I mean, I almost want to just say miss. It's not his fault, but I mean, whatever. And then Derek Mason's a miss for Vanderbilt, and James Franklin is definitely a hit for Vanderbilt. So the point of going through all this, and that was a lot, but the point of it is, in total, when you look at it, I've got 11 hits, 20 misses, and 8 too early to tell.
Yeah. That's
the nature of this thing that you get into, and it's why, sometimes there's hesitation to do anything with, Mark Richt or with Phil Fulmer, or where it looks like it's kind of stale, but like you can get into a cycle where it's really hard to break, and it's what you got to be scared of if you're down here in Baton Rouge. And I think that if you look at what Scott Woodward did, this is a very low risk hire that he's made in bringing in Brian Kelly, and it is very likely that's not going to be a miss. Did you potentially get the next superstar who's 36 years old and has cutting-edge offense and may be here for 25 years and create a dynasty? No, he's 60 years old. Probably not. But it just goes to show that these things go south far more often than they work. I mean, just look at I could make the argument easily that the 2 best jobs in this league are Alabama and Florida. I would not do it because I think Georgia and LSU are every bit in that conversation. But you can make the argument that Florida and Alabama are the 2 best jobs in the league. Well, if I'm just looking at this, you've got Dennis Francione, Mike Price, Mark Shula, Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain, until you get to Saban. Those 2 schools are 1 out of 7 on this thing.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think to tie it back to LSU, all those coaches you name, man, I know national championship is huge, it's important for many people, but they don't have Coach Kelly's resume, man. I think that's where you go with the safe hire. All those coaches you name, a lot of them great assistants. They've done great work as coordinators, especially when they got their first head coaching jobs. But Coach Kelly's resume, man, you don't get to those CFP playoffs, you don't get to national championship, you don't win the amount of games. Obviously, all-time leader in Notre Dame in wins. I think that's probably your best bet, and you won't find yourself in a situation like a lot of these other schools, especially Florida, where you're just burning the midnight oil trying to figure out where your program's going to be. There's no promise that Napier's going to go into Florida and beat Kirby's butt every year, out recruit them, and go start winning national championships. None of that stuff is promised. This stuff is very hard to accomplish, which is why the guys who do accomplish it, they get put on the pedestal that they do. So it's tough, man. This coaching carousel thing can get real wacky, especially if you're a school who hasn't been winning. It's going to be fun and interesting to see how all these hires play out over the years.
I mean, I think 2 of the ones that I would have pushed my chips in on that were going to work. I mean, we've talked about Mullen a ton going to Florida. He had run Mississippi State so as well as you possibly can, and then you're going to a place with that many resources. You think you're just going to hit a home run there, and it didn't work out. And then, I mean, look, I know it was something that we talked about a ton around here. It was very front and center. There was no reason Tom Herman wasn't going to go to Texas and turn that thing into a machine.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. he had been awesome as a play caller at Ohio State, won a national championship with a third-string quarterback. Then he went to Houston, put together some really nice recruiting classes, won a couple of really high-profile games. There's just no reason that wasn't going to work in Austin, and then it just falls flat. And sometimes there's no real rhyme or reason. I don't think Dan Mullen's a bad coach, but it starts going one way, and you just can't stop it.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think for me, I know this guy's people are like, what are you talking about? I think you do need a little luck, man, especially to win it all. You got to go through a whole season. Obviously, your best players can't get hurt. Obviously, off the field, there's a whole other thing cooking with that. You got to have some stuff roll your way and bounce your way, especially to win a national championship. So it's tough, man. It's very tough, and that's why you see these universities, they're hitting the boosters up to pay millions of dollars to find the right guy, because they know how important it is to have a guy at the head of your helm and doing things the right way and giving you a chance to win it all. So it's going to be real interesting how this plays out, man, because it's been a lot of hires that's happened over the past few weeks here.
And this is as high profile a carousel. I mean, usually there's two that come open that are. You've had in this cycle Florida, USC, LSU, Notre Dame. I will toss Oregon into that mix because of where they position themselves in the Pac-12 right this very second. That coming open today. Miami. This is shockwave season in college football. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But in the next segment, I want to get to something that I accepted as 100% positive. It turns out it's not, and it's created some issues. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
Serving up the latest from the sports world. It's Hunt and Hill. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Come celebrate the small things at Small Slider.
The extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law office of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Line 2 to 3 p.m. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm checking out the Twitter feed of Ross Dellinger, who was in an airport drinking. But he's rattled off all the buyouts in coaching this year. $94.5 million have been spent to buy out coaches, according to Ross. Ogeron leads the way at 17, Dan Mullen 12, Gary Patterson 12, Clay Helton 10, and Lake up there in Pac-12 9.9, Justin Fuente 8.7. You get the point. I mean, Skip Holtz got $3 million to leave Louisiana Tech. So it's just outrageous what's going on in the sport, and that's just the nature of where we are. And these agents are feasting on it, and these coaches are as well. And, I was a huge fan of the early signing period when they put it in. I thought it allowed players that had made their minds up the opportunity to sign on the dotted line and get it over with, and it allowed the staffs to take the time from December to February to work on the guys who had not signed to round out the class instead of having to babysit your 21 commitments while you're really recruiting really hard to get the other 4 guys. And I liked the idea of the early signing period. I did not foresee this probably unintended consequence that has created this rush on firing and hiring coaches and has compromised teams that still, based on every metric that college football has been forever, have a lot to play for. Mm-hmm. You've now got a bowl game between Oklahoma and Oregon with no coaches. Because you have to get your new coach in place, and you got to hire them. They got to come, so they have to leave their teams. These decisions used to be made around Christmas, New Year's. Mm-hmm. Now you got to make it before Thanksgiving. It is, and it's putting these college kids in these such difficult spot. I mean, Oregon's trying to get ready for a conference championship game, and their coaches say, "Well, he's out the door." It didn't used to be like that.
Yeah, it's a tough, and I think it's a very tough dynamic. I think that the athletes suffer the most, man. The student athletes, a lot of these kids get recruited since they're freshmen, sometimes sophomore in high school. They develop relationships with these coaches, and then the coaches kind of pull the rug and leave, and they kind of uprooted their families to go probably 400, 500 miles away from home, and the coaches are gone. So I think for me, the best thing I think for college football, I think going forward, you got to get a system like the NFL. You got to put a timetable on when these coaches can just leave their schools. Obviously, a lot of these contracts are guaranteed, so you're going to be getting your money anyway. You got to have a period to where you have this carousel happen and the players aren't affected, whether that's after signing day, whether it's before. But I think for me, you got to kind of put kind of a stranglehold on this thing because it's just wild and wacky. All the jobs that's opened up, it's a list long, man. It's crazy. And as coaches leave their schools, now their school has to get another coach. And so it's kind of never ending when it gets to that point. And I think the players suffer the most through it.
This silly season forced something I can't recall really much of anything that was similar to what we just watched over the last 48 hours with Miami football program. You're talking about a football program that had a sitting head coach who was recruiting. His staff was out on the road recruiting. There's no athletic director in place. None. They're in negotiations with Dan Radakovich from Clemson, who spent time here in the early 2000s, to try to bring him into the athletic director, but all the while, they're working on trying to hire someone else's football coach who's in the middle of a late season run. That's Mario Cristobal at Oregon. They haven't fired the coach. They're trying to hire Cristobal. They're giving him an ultimatum saying he had to make a decision by 1 o'clock on Monday. Meanwhile, Manny Diaz and his staff are still out recruiting for Miami. Then the Miami staff stopped recruiting because they were sick of the rumors and innuendo, and they couldn't go into a house and recruit because they didn't know what was going on. So they pulled them off the road. Cristobal is recruiting for Oregon. Then he comes back and he takes the job on Monday morning. That means Manny Diaz is out. They still don't have an athletic director. We're expecting to hear about Dan Radakovich here in the next, but he didn't hire the football coach. It is a nightmare down there. It's the exact opposite of what we watched here and what they watched in Gainesville and what they saw at USC, where everything was on the DL and quiet. This was a circus.
Yeah, it's definitely a circus. And you think of the University of Miami, especially their football program, just how dominant and how prominent they were in this country, and kind of where they are now. You kind of see while they're scrambling, while they're trying to get everything done before, the 15th creeps up on you. And that's what the NCAA has done by not kind of putting, restraints on some of these coaching moves. You can talk to whoever you want, no matter what time of year. Their agent can talk to the AD, and it's a free-for-all, man. And I think you got to slow this thing down just a little bit. I'm not saying, to stop the coaching carousel and don't allow coaches to leave their school. But I think you got to put some time constraints on some of these things because it's wacky. It's crazy. I'm sure the players don't like it. I'm sure some of these kids' families don't like it. But that's kind of the dynamic we're in with college football. So I don't see it changing anytime soon.
It's just nuts. Some of the fallout from coaching hires around the nation. Brent Venables is going to head to Oklahoma to become the Sooners head coach. Jeremy, he was their defensive coordinator when LSU played them in the national championship game in New Orleans back in January of 2004. Obviously was the defensive coordinator as LSU took on Clemson back in 2020. I, as you know, am not an X's and O's guys on the football side of thing, but when I watched Brent Venables' defense against Joe Burrow and that LSU team, I could tell it was complicated. There were blitz schemes that LSU had not seen all year early in that game. It was a very, very well-coached team. Now, eventually against that team, it didn't matter. The dam was going to break and you were going to lose. But they were really well-coached on the defensive side. He spent a ton of time there at Clemson under Dabo Swinney. Actually said today that he turned down the Auburn job a couple of years ago, which I did not know. I knew that Billy Napier had turned his nose up on it, but sounds like that hiring search went a little awry as well. But what do you think of the hire of Venables to Oklahoma?
Yeah, I got a firsthand a view of Coach Venables. We played him in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, and they shut us down in the fourth quarter. We choked the lead and allowed Clemson to get back in the game. So, look, I got all respect for him. You just see it, one of those guys who's going to run multiple fronts, which is what I always preach for. Don't be predictable. Don't let the offense get to the sideline and scheme you up. Be unpredictable. He does that. He's got to send different blitzes. He's got to mix in 3 down fronts. He's got to mix in 4 down fronts. And I think that's going to be very refreshing for Oklahoma, who hasn't played a lick of defense in the last decade, I feel like. So it's going to be good for them to kind of, change their identity, change their backbone, and get a coach that's really going to preach defense and trying to get stops. And really, they got the talent on offense. They just got to, boost that defense up a ton. You
want to talk about hitting a mega reset button on what the program's going to look like. You go from Lincoln Riley and that offense with that defense to now Brent Venables calling the shots there. That is going to be a shock to the system of a lot of people there in Norman. Lane Kiffin gets an extension and a raise in Oxford, Mississippi, so I don't know how sincere anybody's interest was in Lane this time around. You go 10-2 at Ole Miss, get to the Sugar Bowl, you're probably going to have to answer a few phone calls, but the pocketbook's feeling a little bit better these days for your boy Lane.
Oh, yeah. I thought Lane may have gotten left at the altar, but I think that's a cool, extension for him, obviously getting them to, their best season they've ever had, especially in the regular season. and going undefeated at home, I think that was special for Ole Miss. Just watching their offense and watching what they've done this year, that can't go overlooked. So I thought Lane would be going to other pastures, especially Miami. I know people were whispering that, but I think for Ole Miss, that was a great extension to keep him around, keep him happy, and try to continue to build that program to what they could possibly be in the SEC.
And then to kind of put all this coaching carousel stuff to bed, I thought an interesting piece here is that Billy Napier has had Jabbar Jalouk is going to come with him from Louisiana Lafayette over to Gainesville. I just think that's relevant to LSU because Jabbar Jalouk was a very, very good high school coach down there in New Orleans. Came on as ended up going to Louisiana Tech to coach some running backs. Came to LSU for a year to coach running backs. Spent time at Texas Tech. Then was at Louisiana Lafayette. Billy Napier obviously prioritized him with Mickey Joseph out the door. I thought it was possible that Jabbar Jalouk may be somebody that LSU looked at to bring back onto this staff under Brian Kelly. Obviously not going to be the case. And now you've got a head coach in Gainesville and an assistant coach in Gainesville that really, really know this state inside and out and have great relationships here. So that's just something to be aware of. LSU doesn't get into a lot of recruiting battles with Florida in this state. They get into a lot of them in that state. I think that changes a little bit now because those guys know this area, and they're going to be spending time in New Orleans and Acadiana. You can believe that.
Oh, yeah. That's something that Coach Napier, if you just look at his track record, you go pull up 24/7 Sports and look at the kind of the 5-stars and 4-star kids, especially just from the state of Louisiana in itself. The dude knows how to recruit it, so he's going to bring his staff and continue to try to, hit this hotbed of recruits that he knows that's in the great state of Louisiana, and he can just recruit in his backyard now in the state of Florida because there's so much talent there. I know a lot of people are pounding the table for Napier thinking they're going to win something quick. You're going to have to recruit to do that. So Florida, that's just not where their program needs to be or what we think of the Florida program, a respected program in college football. Napier's got to have his hands full and have his work cut out for him, but what a guy to do it because I believe in what he stands for, and I think he's a great man.
I'm looking up at that stupid TV up there, and I'm watching Zach Calzada on one leg just chopping Alabama up. It's just, you cannot predict this sport. I just that makes no sense based on the other 11 games A&M played this year.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all, but I mean, to me, it's expected because at the time, A&M, starting the season out being ranked in the top 5 to go 0-3 to start the SEC.
Would have been a thing of beauty.
Would have been a thing of beauty, but you knew they were going to get a hero effort from them that day, especially with Alabama coming to town. So not crazy shocking when you just look at the talent, but Calzada had to have a day, and he did it.
30 minutes to go with you here on a Monday edition. We'll come back and talk National Football League on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, Hunt and Hill. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
Bayou Ford has 0% for 60 months on new Ford F-150s. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million-mile powertrain warranty. And now 0% for 60 months on Ford F-150s. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
To the heroes who are working tirelessly to care for our communities, we thank you. We will never forget the countless hours you dedicated on the front lines, choosing to risk your own health to fight for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
You guys are out on the front lines fighting it.
We are grateful for your heroic acts and unwavering spirit. Together, we are overcoming this adversity and make our state healthier and more vibrant again. Auctioner Health.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. The place is going to be convenient for you during that inconvenient time, and it's even more convenient now. Now you have 8 convenient locations, with the Bruley location just opening up. So go check them out online, patientplusuc.com, because remember, they are your place for your sniffles, for your colds, for your stitches, for your COVID test. They have all that available over at Patient Plus. For more information, visit them at patientplusuc.com. Get in and get better.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Turn our attention to the National Football League. Loaded Sunday of action. Start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who went to Atlanta and took care of the Falcons. Tommy threw it 51 times. We talked about it on Friday, saying, hey, this is the worst pass defense in the league, and Tom's coming to town. He did, and he threw for 368 and 4 scores.
Yeah, that's what I talk about all the time. You got to have a guy back there that you can trust to throw it 50, 60 times. What a guy. What about the guy with 7 Super Bowls? That's probably not a bad guy to let drop back 50 times in a football game and throw the ball. But, that's the strong suit of their team. You look at all the weapons with Gronk back, man. Gronk's looking like he's 25 years old again, just spiking the ball, scoring touchdowns on people. You got Evans and Godwin. They're playing at a high level. And my boy Playoff Lenny, man. Playoff Lenny making his cameo in the end zone, catching a touchdown. So, man, that Buccaneers offense, this is normally the time of the season where they make that stretch run, that home runs, really get themselves, rolling hot into the playoffs. Looks like they're starting to do that now.
I would have lost significant amount of money wagering on Matt Nagy's job status. I cannot believe the Bears are still employing him. Andy Dalton, 4 picks. The Cardinals moved to 7-0 on the road. That in the NFL is some work.
Yeah, my man Kyler came back, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. My fantasy team put up like almost 200 points. Look, Kyler, I needed you, man. Thank you.
That's a Texas boy on the lakefront in Chicago in the cold. Did you see that Bears fan who couldn't get out of the poncho? I get more Bears stuff than most because of the Cubs deal, but there was a fan it was on, like they were showing the scoreboard and they were showing a crowd shot. There was a fan in the upper part of Soldier Field who couldn't get this poncho off. He was just like stuck in the poncho, and it was a perfect microcosm of the Bears who can't get out of their own way. Either Chargers go to Cincy, get a big win. Again, it's the same thing we talked about Friday with the Bengals, 2 steps forward, 1 step right on back, and Herbert outplayed Joe yesterday.
Yeah, he did, man. And
Joe was hurt.
Yeah, Joe. You seen Joe's finger, man. Yeah. I think it was busted, but This is why I didn't take the Chargers out, man. It's something about Herbert, man. That kid's special. He's a big, kid from the West Coast, and he can really throw the ball. And you put those weapons around him, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Eckler's having one of the best running back seasons in the year right now. That's a lot to cook with, man. And they're not going anywhere in that division. They're probably a couple games back at Kansas City right now. They're going to be right there battling with them all year. So you got to believe in Herbert, man. He's one of the more up-and-coming young quarterbacks in this league.
Wasn't Jets Jefferson's fault. 11 catches for 182 and a touchdown, but the Lions are on the board.
Yeah,
Get a touchdown late, 29-27. They beat Minnesota.
Yeah, Lions are on the board, man. Who would have thought? I definitely didn't think, obviously, but with Cook out, that's their team. They get everything going off Dalvin Cook, play-action game, get Jets on the outside. Another guy having my lineup in fantasy, my boy Jets, just cooking up, getting all the points in the world that I needed. But that's a tough loss for the Vikings, man. They've been probably one of the more disappointing teams in the league. When you just look at the talent they've had, and Coach Zimmer just being there the time period he's had. I don't know. He may be on the hot seat well, man, Coach Zimmer.
This is where I need Elias. I can't do the research required, but there cannot be a lot of teams in the history of the NFL to lose 7 games in a row in a season and win 5 games in a row in the same season. The Lions pulled that off yesterday as they win their 5th in a row after losing 7 straight after week 2.
Right, you meant the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, Dolphins. What I say?
Yeah, Dolphins. Yeah. Definitely Dolphins. My man Tua coming back in the lineup, helping them out. The rookie Jalen Phillips, he's been having an incredible year out there helping them, and I hate to give him credit, but the Bama boy, my boy Waddle, man, he's waddling in the end zone like a penguin and whatnot. So he's playing well as well. So yeah, the Dolphins, man, look, they've been playing this home stretch well, but I don't know if it's gonna help them in the wild card, or definitely not the division.
I missed that Jalen Hurts was hurt and not playing, but Minshew Mania checked in for the Eagles and got a road win against the Jets, who still stink.
Yeah, my boy Minshew came out there with the patented biker gang mustache, with the leather jacket and everything, and he was fired up. I don't know if anyone got a chance to see it, but it was a great clip. Him and his dad after the game, they were fired up, chest bumping and pushing each other. And Minshew, he had an incredible day, and that's what you got to need, especially with your backup quarterback, on the road, trying to win a game. That's exactly what Gardner gave them.
We talked about this on Friday, too. A lot of things we talked about on Friday came to fruition. If Jonathan Taylor is going to be potentially an all-pro, and he had 32 totes yesterday for 143, 2 touchdowns. And as I heard it on national ESPN radio when I was driving in, the Texans are putting on a clinic on how to tank. They get beat 31-0 at home by the Colts.
Yeah, what a bad year to tank, though. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's no Andrew Luck. There's no
Damone Clark.
Yeah, I mean, they need all the help they can get. That roster is not looking too hot. You picked a bad year to start tanking. There's no real quarterbacks I can point to. Obviously, there may be a guy that plays well going on in the future, but I can't point to one right now. It's a tough time to be a Texans fan, man. It's just brutal right now, on and off the field for the Texans. It's just not looking good.
I hope Sean Payton wasn't watching the football team versus the Raiders. Brian Johnson, his old buddy, who couldn't do anything in black and gold, kicks the go-ahead kick for the football team. They beat the Raiders 17-15.
Yeah, that was an ugly game to watch, and then they blew a pass interference call. It's just like they gave the Raiders, 4 pass interference calls on Thanksgiving. I guess they wouldn't give them any more after that. Zay Jones got totally held. Probably like 20 seconds left in the game. They had an opportunity to kick a field goal and win that game, but they didn't call the flag, and the Raiders came up short, man. The football team has definitely came alive. I thought when Chase Young came out of their lineup and was out for the year, they kind of laid down a little bit, but they haven't. They've been winning. They're right there in their division. If they can, keep winning and doing the things they're doing, you got to look out for the football team.
If you recall, on Friday, I said my lock of the weekend, big-time bet, you got to take it. I'll put 0 of my dollars on it. You put a lot of yours on it. We'll see how it works. Was the Raiders laying the points? Said they were coming off a long week. Football team had a short week. Oh, they just lost outright. So that's why I don't bet, because I can't beat Vegas. Jags, I should bet against them. You'd win a lot. The Rams 37, Jags 7. Jags 0-5 away from home, 2-10 on the season.
Just not looking good, man. You saw how all those urban rumors were buzzing all year, especially with this carousel going on in college football. But the Jags, that's another really, really tough rebuild that they're going to have to do. That's just not a very talented roster. I know they got the quarterback of the future, but they're going to have to do a lot of rebuilding. And my Super Bowl pick, the Rams, man. You guys have me worried a little bit. You got to get this thing rolling in the right direction. My boy Stafford had a day. OBJ catching the touchdown passes back-to-back week. That's what we need to get this game rolling. Let's go Rams.
I love John Harbaugh's decision to go for 2 to try to win the football game. They had to play open there. The tight end was there, and Lamar just put it 4 inches too far to the outside. Steelers get a huge home win. to try to scrap and claw and stick around this thing. They're 6-5-1 now. Ravens fall to 8-4.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on that
Nope.
one. I actually hated that play call for one reason only. You left the best pass rusher in football unblocked. What are we doing? How do you just let TJ Watt, you drop a play? Well, look, guys, we're not blocking TJ Watt on this. We're just going to let him come in Lamar's face, and let's just hope we get this pass off. We can't do that. You got to make sure the best edge rusher in football, you got a guy on that guy, and maybe you can run that same play, but I don't like leaving the best pass rusher in football unblocked, and he made a play, man. That's why that ball is inaccurate, and that's why, they couldn't convert that two-point conversion. But I do love the call to go for it. I think when you're on the road and you have the injuries they've had at cornerback this season, and especially in that game, you got to go for it. But I just don't like leaving TJ Watt unblocked.
You're not guaranteed to get the ball in overtime. So if you want to make sure Lamar Jackson's got the ball with a chance to win the game, that's your shot to do it. I thought it was a really good call. Seahawks get a win over the 49ers. Pete Carroll jumping for joy. 30-23, the final. Seahawks still just 4-8 on the season. They're not going to be able to recover from that Russell Wilson injury early. But the Niners, a costly loss there on the road.
Yeah, that was a great game, actually. I think the Niners did a great job battling back, but my man Carlos Dunlap, my former teammate in Cincinnati, big back down on the goal line. That's kind of what he does for a living. The amount of bat downs that dude gets is just unreal and incredible. Just being a 6'6" guy with long arms, he knows how to play. If he's not going to get to the quarterback, he's going to get his hands up. And Mr. Unlimited, man, Mr. Unlimited had a little day yesterday, tossing some touchdowns when they needed it. So, yeah, that was a great win for Seattle.
Since the day I scratched the Chiefs off my list, they have won 5 in a row. And they're winning it with defense. Yeah. The Giants scored 17 on them. The Packers scored 7. The Raiders scored 14. The Cowboys scored 9. The Broncos scored 9. Last night, the Chiefs get a pick 6, plus they only hold the Broncos to 9. That makes Patrick Mahomes' life pretty easy when he's only got to outscore him by 2.
Yeah, man. And look, this Chiefs offense isn't what we've seen, especially over the past 3 seasons. And then just watching their defense kind of evolve to what they are now. It's crazy to say, but I never thought I'd say this season. Their defense is what's winning them these games, man. Their defense is forcing turnovers, keeping teams under 25 and 20, which is just exactly what you need when you got a Chiefs offense like that. But this Chiefs offense is just plagued with turnovers all season. Patrick had another one yesterday. It's going to be tough, man, when you get in the playoffs and playing that way and you're not firing on all cylinders. But I didn't take them off my Super Bowl contenders. We're still cooking with the Chiefs, so let's keep rolling, Patrick.
But look, it's one of those deals where some teams that are stalwarts in the league lost early games. The Patriots looked bad early. You've seen a situation, look, are the Bengals ready to pop up? Is this the Browns' year? Well, okay. And you look up, the Patriots are in first place. The Ravens are in first place. Expected the Titans to win that division. The Packers get dusted in the opener. You look up, they're in first place by 3.5 games. You look at Tampa is in first place after they had a tough loss early. And then the West is what it is in the NFC. But basically, even though some things were going sideways in September, you look up here as the calendar turns to December, and it's everybody that we thought has kind of ascended to where they generally stay.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I'm still smacking myself across the head for taking the Pats off. They're number 1 in the AFC right now. They're 8-4 at the top of the AFC. Like, there's no way I could have predicted that. But before the year, I felt good about Coach Bill and the crew. Now they're top of the AFC, and they're going to have a great opportunity tonight to really extend that and really go up on that. So it's normally the normal culprits that we're seeing year in and year out, and I think a lot of that has to do with the coaching and the quarterback.
All right, let's talk about this one before we do take it or leave it to finish off the show. Patriots at the Bills, going to be 36 degrees up in Orchard Park tonight. The Bills 3-point favorite by Vegas. What you got there?
Got the Pats, man. I got the Pats. Something about this Bills team, man. Too up and down.
They're
for my
Jekyll and Hyde. I've been riding the waves.
Look, too up and down for me. The Patriots have been consistent. Mac Jones has been playing incredible in that defense, man. They got to answer for Stephon Diggs. My boy J.C. Jackson, Mr. Turnover himself, man. That kid's an undrafted kid, but has been forcing turnovers and been playing at an extremely high level all season. So I got Bill and the crew, man. I think Bill, Mr. Cutoff Hoodie, is going to get it done.
Something tells me the Bills Mafia is not going to be on its best behavior tonight in the parking lots before this game.
God, it's going to be a mess. There's going to be a lot of broken tables in that parking lot.
Have you seen the guy that gets before every game sprayed with ketchup and mustard head to toe as a Bills fan?
I have not seen that.
Well, you can look it up during the break. Every game, he stands there and lets people take squirt bottles and squirt him with ketchup and mustard head to toe. That is disgusting and in no way an enjoyable experience. Why are you doing this? Just go to the game,
man.
have a beer.
I'm sure it makes for a great Instagram post or Twitter post. I'm sure that's what
He's
what
like
the kids
old. I know, it's so dumb. Who are these people?
Look,
how do you become that guy? How do you become the guy who wants to cover himself in ketchup and mustard?
I mean, look, what do you expect from Bill's Mafia? They're chugging beers and jumping from, RVs onto tables like it's WWF. Like, it's intense, man. It's wild, and they don't hesitate to throw the opposing team a bird. I got to play there a couple times, and they're not very happy when the opposing team comes into town. So Bill's Mafia, man. Let's see if y'all can pull one out tonight.
They need to win this one bigly against New England to try to get jostled for home field in the division championship over there in the AFC North. All right, let's come back and close out a Monday edition of Hunt and Hill.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
FanDuel Sportsbook.
Sports betting is coming to Louisiana, and there's no better place to get in on the action than on the FanDuel Sportsbook. To celebrate, FanDuel is giving you $100 in free site credit when you register early. That's right. Register and verify now, and you will receive a free $100 bonus when we're live.
Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's right there in your app store. Pop up, so easy to use. You can listen to this show, and then you can take my gambling selections, fade them, and get rich. You can do that when they've got your odd boost. They've got your super boosts on the weekend. You can live bet, check out a halftime line you really like from the couch. Bang, punch it right in on the FanDuel Sportsbook. And when you win, you get paid in as little as 2 hours. A lot of options out there as online sports betting comes to Louisiana. Make FanDuel Sportsbook your choice. We certainly have. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Bonus is issued on a non-withdrawable site. Credit that expires 7 days after FanDuel accepts its first real money sports wager in Louisiana. Unique user identity verification is required. The offer ends on the go live date. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Ruffino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
At All Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I want to thank those of you hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat over on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out today with us. If you wouldn't mind dropping us a like, we would greatly appreciate that. Let's get that number up from 51. Good showing. Let's do a little take it or leave it, Jeremy.
Let's do it. All right. According to Pro Football Focus, the best player on the LSU defense this season was Neil Farrell, grading out with an 89.7 grade. Are you taking or leaving Neil Farrell as the best player on the LSU defense this season?
I'll take that. I mean, obviously, Damone's going to get the love and deserves it, and he's going to be a first-team All-American. But Neil was awesome. He was very disruptive. It's hard for me to heap too much praise on him when you look back and realize how awful things felt against Kentucky, UCLA. Couldn't tackle Bo Nix against Auburn. But, I mean, those guys, for the most part, game in, game out, were there. What about you?
Yeah, I would. I'm actually going to, probably trick people. I'm going to go Cordell Flott. I think when healthy, just watching him all year, I think he's done a phenomenal job. I can't remember a touchdown that he gave up this season. I'm really trying to think of one off the top of my head. I can't think of one. And before he got hurt, man, he was playing at an all-time level, like the actually best slot corner in college football. So, I can't say Neil is probably the best at his position in college football, so I'm going to go Cordell Flott there for the best player on the LSU defense this season.
Jack Reagan of Fansided.com says the obvious hire for LSU's defensive coordinator should be Will Muschamp. Take that or leave it.
I'll take it, actually. I'll take a little.
Did not expect that.
I'll take a little Muschamp, man. I think for some of these guys that they're better fit as coordinators, and you kind of just look at the job he's done as a coordinator and not as a head coach. He's done some handy work, so I don't think Muschamp, coming back to Baton Rouge would be the worst thing in the world. What do you think about that?
I really like Will. I worked with him a couple times on stories. I remember back in 2013, I called him. It was on the conference call, actually, and asked him what made the 2003 LSU defense so special. It was 10 years later. He had been to Auburn and Texas and then was at Florida at the time. He rattled off the starting 11 like boom, like just knew it. And he's a really sharp guy. Have his teams played great football over the last 8 years? No, they haven't. I'm not over the moon at that thought, so we'll just leave that there.
All right, the Miami Hurricanes are letting go of their head coach, Manny Diaz, bringing in Cristobal into town. Are you taking or leaving? Cristobal can bring the U back. I'm
going to leave that. He's a good recruiter. I think he'll work really hard. His teams have not been great. I mean, this is a pretty good year for Oregon. The Ohio State win obviously stands very tall, but Michigan did the same thing to him, and then Oregon, got embarrassed by Utah twice. He doesn't have an expertise on either side of the ball. He's just a high-energy recruiting guy. It's not a hard conference to go in there and have success in, so maybe he will. I'm just not over the moon about that one. Alabama's a 14-point favorite over Cincinnati. Taking or leaving that the Bearcats should be a 2-touchdown underdog.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Like, I think this is ponies trying to, enter the Kentucky Derby. It's just a different type of horse you're going to be running against here. And I just don't think the Bearcats have the horses to keep up with the Tide. And you got the Heisman winner at quarterback, throwing the ball around the yard. That's going to be a lot to deal with. So I got the Tide rolling in that one. All right, last one here. This is an Alabama show today, I guess. And the Crimson Tide basketball team, they pulled off a huge upset against Gonzaga, knocking down 10 of their 13 three-point attempts. Are you taking or leaving? The Tide should be favored to win the SEC now.
I'll take it. I could make the case for about 5 teams to win the SEC. There are 7 ranked SEC teams out of this morning as LSU sneaks into the top 25. LSU starts with a ridiculous start to conference play. I'll give you a little preview of my basketball podcast tomorrow, Hoops with Hunt, which you can find on the Guarantee Podcast Network. Going to talk about that start to SEC play. It's going to be so brutal. But look, Arkansas is very, very good. Kentucky's got great players. Auburn is incredibly talented. They're very, very good. Mike White's team down in Florida is playing well. Mississippi State's got a little bit of a build. I mean, it's really good. Georgia's not very good, and I don't think Missouri's very good. Everybody else is very good. And so Alabama, played great. Shackelford went nuts for them. They've got really good guards, again, that play an interesting style of basketball for Nate Oates. I do not pull for them very often, but the SEC, if you listen to my podcast today, has started off non-conference play very, very well. So that's going to reflect really well on the league come March. When you've got 7 teams that are ranked right now, you've got a lot of teams handling their business in November and December. It's not something the SEC has done a ton of, so that's a very, very good thing for seeding come March. That's going to wrap things up for us here on a Monday. If you missed anything, like Cody Worsham's interview, our thoughts on LSU's draw in the Texas Bowl, talked about some hires around the SEC, the coaching carousel. You can catch it all on 1045ESPN.com or on YouTube. We're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to look at our SEC power rankings from August. We'll also talk to John Brady. Matt's going to drive you home 3 to 6 on AFR. Game time with Jimmy